Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to potentially the final DLC review as it
Oh,
appears right now for Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I am the Dr. Travis Snail.
nice. I am the fantastic Dylan Muss.
The Cube Writer. I almost forgot about the Cube Writer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't been with us since the beginning, we're big Marvel Ultimate Alliance fans. That's like one of the topics we've been talking about since this podcast started. Years ago, me and Kirklin and Dylan did a dream roster, and then we did a 24-hour stream for the game, and we've covered all the DLC. So, like we're doing in the past, as we've done, we're going to be talking about the Fantastic Four Shadow of Doom DLC. So, we'll get into. Well, I guess there's two things. There's, I guess, spoilers for like the story. I don't think the story is anything amazing, but if you don't want anything, that's something. And if you don't want to be spoiled on the secret character, that'd be another thing. We'll talk about that at the end, but we will give you a heads up
Mm-hmm.
because Dylan has played it. Taylor, did you get to unlock the secret character? Okay, so
Nice.
yeah, these two can talk about it, which is good. I had some, I thought difficulties, but then we figured it out. So, but I've watched some gameplay. So we're gonna talk about just the DLC first and the Fantastic Four characters and Doctor Doom. So Dylan, lead us off. Whatever you think about this DLC and who you liking, who you maybe not feeling, or you
Mm-hmm.
loving them all.
Yeah, overall, I'm really into this DLC because we've got a few updates, right? We had like the Marvel Knights DLC and then the X-Men one, and then even Cyclops and Colossus joined the game like shortly after it launched. But all of those ones like added a new mode, and I like Gauntlet mode. I thought it was a really good addition. They've since like added more gauntlets in each of the other DLCs. And then there was Danger Room that was added in the X-Men one, which I wasn't really as big a fan of. Like I liked it for a little bit, but not in the long run. So with this DLC, instead of getting a new mode, we're just getting a new story chapter, which I was really happy about because that's kind of what I always wanted for the DLC because that just gives you more to like work with the gauntlets or the rifts, right? Is you just get more different terrains to work with, new enemy types, things like that. So yeah, in terms of the actual chapter itself, super happy with it. I think it's great. There's kind of two areas you go to, and I think they're both really fun. And then the characters, I'm also really, really into. Like Sue Storm and Mr. Fantastic are probably my two favorite. Their movesets are just super wild. But even Human Torch and the Thing as well, I think are really fun. And I haven't used Doctor Doom as much as the rest of them, but I think he has a really interesting moveset. Like he's got a lot of unique properties to him that I think are cool. I think he just like has a higher skill cap than the rest. Like you can't really just spam as much with him. You kind of gotta strategize a bit, which is cool in terms of like you know most of the characters in this game are pretty simple in the grand scheme of things. So it's cool to have a more complicated character. But yeah, overall, I'm really into it. I think the other great thing is that there's just tons and tons of new costumes, like something like 40 new costumes altogether, which is just huge. So now everyone has an alternate look you can go with. So yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely my favorite out of all the DLCs that we've gotten. Like, obviously, we've gotten like cool like character additions in the past, few. But I mean, it was nice in this time around to get like a brand new kind of Marvel team and just overall, just I thought like the addition of like extra story that they threw in there, like I really, really am happy that they did that, and because I, not that I didn't like the other updates, but I felt like it's just kind of like more of like either rifts or just some more gauntlet stuff. It wasn't anything like juicy to kind of keep me roped into like the game,
Yeah.
and I found myself easily kind of getting like turned away a little bit. Like I love the skins, and I got like some awesome Ghost Rider ones now, which have me super excited. But it's just really nice to like turn on the game, be like, okay, we got this extended like story chunk here, and some like intense gauntlet stuff, which is pretty cool, and just the addition of these characters that have like been thrown into the mix that I really, really like one of them in particular. He's like my second favorite now of the game.
Nice.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna echo what these guys have said. I'm very happy with it. Dylan was saying like a few weeks ago, hoping for a story, and I just kind of thought we hadn't got them the last few times, and I don't know, just because it was the end when there was a chance. But I was trying not to get excited because I didn't want to be disappointed because I was kind of disappointed with the what was it? What was the Marvel? Oh, Curse the Vampire was the technical name
Yeah.
for it, right? Yeah. And I was disappointed when at first we thought there was going to be a story because they have the slot where it's the main campaign that is the, everyone's a bit harder, they're cursed.
Yeah.
But
Nightmare mode.
yeah, when we heard that, we kind of thought, oh, maybe that's something story, and then it wasn't. It was kind of, to me, it wasn't a trick, but it was something that I got kind of false hype for. So this was great to see that. Also, we knew about that a little beforehand, but yeah, the characters I'm kind of surprised by because I didn't have much hype for them. Honestly, I'm hyped for any character because the game has this is just the perfect Marvel Ultimate Alliance game. It's everything I've ever wanted, especially with characters and modes. Like there's so much to do. There's so much I still have to do. This is a game that I'll be playing probably forever. Like it's why I bought the Switch, and I feel I've justified every time. I took probably the longest break I had this time, and then right when I got back into it, I was like, man, I want to really barrel through everything again and upgrade as many characters as I can and whatnot. But the characters, yeah, I know we'll talk specifically about which ones we're liking the most or their attacks, but I like them all. I at least like them all, but honestly, I love Johnny Storm, I love Sue Storm, and I love Mr. Fantastic the most. The thing I really like, but I'll have some kind of maybe some cons, not really cons, just maybe he's not one of my favorite big man. And Doom, I think Dylan hit the nail on the head that he's very different. I was disappointed when I played with him initially, but as I play with him a bit more, I go, okay, it reminded me, as I said in the chat, of Cable, where he feels like a very strategic kind of character. You can't go just ground and pound. You can't just button mash. You do got to use moves wisely. He's not a
Yeah.
support
You got to think about where you use stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. He's not like Cap, a support player where I feel like Cap's a support defense. Doom isn't that. He's a weird kind of hybrid. And even Master Fantastic, he's like this weird kind of brawler hybrid as well sometimes. So I just think they did such a phenomenal job. I like the story. The story's pretty basic, but I like we got to go to Latveria, like minor spoilers. You get Celestial, you get Annihilus in here, which is really cool. It's one of the people I've been pitching for like a future Avengers villain. And so there's lots of like little Easter eggs and little characters that I wasn't expecting they had in here. And yeah, I don't think I have any major complaints, but yeah, I always hope that they're gonna pull a smash and do. Oh, we still gotta, we're gonna do one more DLC, but and there's some stuff with the story I want to ask you guys because it feels like there's some cliffhanger stuff that I'm a little
Yeah,
I'm left
for
wondering
sure.
about, but I think this is just even with the first pack, it justified my money. But this has just been one of the best DLCs I've ever purchased. This really feels like a bang for your buck, and yeah, I wasn't that hyped for the Fantastic Four when they announced. I just went, oh yeah, that's a characters you got to do. They're the OG Marvel family, but I think for the most part, even some of my cons I have, the characters I love, and especially Sue Storm. She's we're gonna do another tier ranking in the future, and she's getting up there. I love all her
Yeah.
attacks, so maybe we can just start going to that. Do we want? Let's start with Sue Storm because yeah, she is. I love almost everything about her. I feel like she is the best combination of like Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange. The two things I love. I love like the projectiles shield protection, and I love the invisible wall. It's one of my favorite things to throw up. My favorite thing is using that and Hulk as a combo, and you throw up the wall, and then he does his like jump in the air and pound. She just has a lot of good. She also has some really good synergies with Gambit. She just is very versatile. So I love Sue Storm. I'm not gonna say she's a top fiver, but she could be definitely in that top 15, top 10. So Sue Storm, which is surprising because I'm not a big fan, but that's usually not my play type of characters, and she. Other than Jean Grey, she's probably up there as someone I really enjoy. So yeah, I loved Sue Storm.
Yeah, I definitely agree. She's probably my favorite of the new characters. Yeah, I'd say that pretty confidently. Like, it's cool because she's very much a hybrid character. Like, she does have her supported stuff, like her shield that she can put on her teammates, but then she also has, like, these big hitboxes, like you're saying, the wall, and then even just kind of the projectile, which works really well with Mr. Fantastic. It's like his spinny move. And then on top of that, like, she can fly around on her little bubble. And then the invisibility is just super cool, right? Because like, how would you incorporate a move like that? It's kind of like how I was never surprised when Quicksilver wasn't a character because I'm like, how do you do that character justice? And I feel like they did justice for a move that like just makes you impossible to see. Like, how do you make that into a move? But they did a really good job with it, and it's really fun to use and sneak around the battlefield and get behind a boss or something like that. So yeah, I think she's definitely my favorite of the bunch, and she pairs really well with all of them too. Like tons of big synergies and whatnot. Where's she on your list, Taylor?
For me, she like between all the characters, I definitely found that she was one that I was going to probably the third most out of the four. I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna start with Mr. Fantastic. I'm gonna go to like Sue Storm, and then Johnny Storm, and save thing for last. And um, I realized, okay, like this is kind of like that descending order is how I like them, but I would swap obviously Johnny Storm and Sue Storm around now the more I play with them, because like I like Sue Storm. I thought her attacks were super cool. I like the shields. I like the wall. I like the all everything that she was producing. It was super cool, but I just found like when I'm going into like fight like her attacks like weren't like super strong, and I felt like she. I don't know. I guess I'm used to kind of just going in and doing like my heavy attacks and everything like that, and not being said, or not that that's like a takeaway or anything. I still think like she's an awesome character to play in the game, but I just kind of ended up liking Johnny Storm, or not Johnny Storm. Oh yeah, Johnny Storm. I guess I get their names confused sometimes, but Johnny Storm, I definitely just like his attacks a little bit more. But I do like how she can actually fly too, creating that force field under her feet. I think that's super cool, and just her detail to her character and her moves were really kind of just blew my mind. Like especially the wall thing. When I did that, I didn't understand what I was actually doing until I realized, wow, that's what it does.
Yeah, I like the that her heavy attack is just like a big projectile. It actually reminds me a lot of like the move that Songbird has in Ultimate Alliance 2, where she just kind of shoots out that wave in front of her. But it's cool that you can like charge it for even more strength, and then you can kind of like aim it around too.
Yeah. Let's go to Johnny Storm next. I'll start with you because it sounds like he was probably your favorite. So why is Johnny Storm lighting up your candle?
Well, he's my second favorite.
Oh, really? Just the way you were talking about him.
Yeah.
Sound like he was your go. He sounded like he was your go-to guy in this 4.
He's got that fire thing. I really want to build and play like a fire team of 4. Get who's the one who has all the elements?
Crystal.
I can't remember.
And then you could throw Jean Grey in there. Jean Grey has a lot of fire stuff as well.
Yeah, there you go. So Ghost Rider, Jean Grey, Crystal, and Johnny Storm. And then we got the fire team. But yeah, no, he I really, really enjoy flying around with him. He kind of proved to be like my backup go-to. So when like the other team would kind of fall down, I'd kind of pick up the reins with him a little bit. And I love his attacks. I love it's just how most of these characters feel like they have like AoE abilities, which I really, really like. And he especially just fits that bill where he's like, one of his abilities is like spinning around and creating like that just like pool of flame or whatever, which I really like. Or just his moves in general, just they make me really, really happy. And I like how is that flying dynamic too. Like most of the characters I play as, they don't really have flying. Like I guess Miles Morales, I mean he swings, but it's not really the same as flying. And I mean my team mostly consisted of like Wolverine, Ghost Rider, I guess Magneto flies, doesn't he?
Yeah, he like hovers. He like
It's like hovers.
It's like because he's like pushing off the ground, so technically he's not flying. There's some term for it or something.
Yeah, so that's why I really like Johnny, because like he's got the moves and the abilities that I really like. He meshes well with the other characters that I'm playing with, and I love that he's got that dynamic of flying. To me he feels really balanced, and he just brings everything that I want to the table, I guess. And I love that he works well with my number 1, which I'll get to after you guys go.
Yeah, well, I'll go because he's kind of my number 2 behind Sue. He was my number 1 until I started playing with Sue more, but I like the feel of him. It's kind of what we'll get into Mr. Fantastic too. I feel that's why I've never been too much in the Fantastic Four in the video games, because it felt like the Hulk in 1 and 2, or just felt like they never quite got it right. And I'll speak more about those Mr. Fantastic, who I felt like that was the biggest one. But even with Johnny, he always felt like he should be a lot more fun than he would be, but he hasn't been. But in this one, he's nice and quick, which I like. He feels powerful, and I think that's the biggest thing before too. Like in other games, he'd feel like a lighter or something, where this feels like a blowtorch. I love that his heavy attack is literally just holding the torch. He's just with both hands, just like shooting and it doesn't stop. And it's just like, it's such a great move to me. It feels like, and that's what I love. They did that with Cap's throw shield and Thor's throwing with a hammer. That's an attack that's been in other games, and I love that they're like, nah, we're gonna make up some other cool attacks for the other 4. We're gonna just make that his heavy attack. So I just felt like they may put, and I feel like this with the whole team, but I feel like they put a lot of love into Johnny. I feel like Gambit has it, Jean Grey has it when they kind of make a big circle and there's lots of attack. Maybe it's just because it is such a big fire animation, but I feel like those other ones, I throw them down as Jean and Gambit, and they do damage, and maybe it's just because Johnny Storm I have this a bit more upgrade than the others, but this one feels like it does does the most damage, like this ring of fire. You feel like you throw it down, you are changing the battlefield, and it's a perfect move to throw down. It makes sense for the character, but it's a perfect move to throw down anywhere. If there's a bunch of characters, if there's a boss battle, it feels like it's actually doing some damage, and it leads to some really cool synergies. Him and his sister have some really good ones. So yeah, I was really impressed with Johnny actually, and another one that caught me off guard. And he's gonna be one that is he's just a good utility guy. Like you guys said, he can fly. He has a bit of power. But the only thing I'll say is for all of them, I like their extremes, but I feel they're all a little samey. They all feel like they lock someone in a location and then they do a big move. Like Mr. Fantastic, he strings a bunch of arms in the middle and then he hits them. She puts them in like a big like invisible cage. Then she hits them. Johnny, same thing. Like creates a bunch of fire in the middle and then she hits them. So I think, and the things I actually can't even remember. I haven't played it that much, so I'm sure one of you guys can shout. But
just the big rock that he smashes in the ground.
yeah, which is kind of similar. I feel like it's like the lesser version of Colossus, So, and I'll get in that with the thing who's my least favorite out of this bunch. But yeah, Johnny, I love Sue. She's my number one, but it's not like Johnny is too far away. And I love having, if I even don't have the whole team, I love having Sue and Johnny together. So really impressed by him.
Yeah, I don't think I have too much to add on him. You guys kind of nailed it. I really like him as well. I'll just echo like the heavy attack. I think is his coolest thing because that was kind of my problem with a lot of moves. Like when the game came out, is that some of them like feel very rigid, right? Like you're using it and you can just stand in one place. So that's why like when Colossus came out and he had like that same shield move that you could reflect moves off of, but his is like just better than everyone else's because you can move around while doing it. It just makes the other characters feel like a little bit like too stale, I guess. So if you look at like Star-Lord's fire move, for example, where he just stands in one place and like shoots out this fire breath, but like doesn't really move. But Human Torch is cool because you can move around and you can aim it while you're doing it at the same time. So it just feels, and since it's a heavy attack, it doesn't use mana, right? So just in between other moves, you can kind of just use that. And I think that's really cool that they gave him just a really nice, like high maneuverability attack. So yeah, I agree with everything else you guys said.
That makes me miss because remember we never got it, but we're big fans of that one move Punisher have. It is a power move, but remember he has that move where, or sorry, not Punisher, sorry, Nick Fury. He has that move where he'll just shoot. Yeah, he'll just shoot, and yeah, you can just move around anywhere, and that's what it reminds me of. I'm bummed because they did this, and like you said, we talked about that with Star-Lord. It was one of those like, oh, they have those moves, but they're not putting those animations or that work into making him be able to move. But now that we got Colossus and him, I am still a tad disappointed we didn't get that with Frank because I just feel like that's an easy go-to of just him, even if it was a power move, just him spraying it down. Even with Cable, we didn't necessarily get that. So it's just one move I really quite liked. But yeah, so who wants to start on Mr. Fantastic?
I'll go first on this one. He's another one that I think they did a great job with. Like he's crazy. He feels like he's one of the strongest characters in the game, like with what I've played with him so far, because he doesn't have any range moves, but his moves just have so much range on them. Like each one of them reaches so far. Like one of the strongest like combos in the game is when Miss Marvel is just spinning around, doing her spin kick, and then you shoot bullets into it, like repeated bullets. It's just like this really strong synergy that just melts bosses. And I feel like Mr. Fantastic has the exact same thing, but his arms just reach like twice as far. So, and that, like I said, that pairs really well with Sue Storm because she has that like multiple attack, like the orbs that she can shoot out. So I think he's great. And then even like his spinning move where he just turns into a wheel and flies around the battlefield, it just makes me wish that, and start to throw some shade at your character, Taylor, but I just wish like Ghost Rider could do that. Like, why can't he just drive around with his bike? I don't really see a reason why not. So I think they did a great job with Mr. Fantastic. And then he also has the glide that Moon Knight has, so it's cool because that wasn't a move in the base game, but then two characters got it, and his feels much different than like Moon Knight's goes really far, whereas Mr. Fantastic is kind of quicker range. But yeah, I think they did an amazing job with him. He just feels so much fun to play.
Yeah, I'll go next just because I feel I have similar thoughts as Dylan. Yeah, the jump is just like it's a flying squirrel jump, but it's like a dead flying squirrel. I don't think I use it that much because it's just it feels so quick that it goes to the ground.
Yeah,
but
I feel that useful.
Yeah, the wheel, like you said, was great. That punch attack too, I love. Just because it feels like I said earlier, like he is kind of a brawler in a sense, and it's kind of like his Wolverine like claw slash, and I just love how he pops off. And the move, it's not even that powerful of a move, but that double jump attack where he becomes the ball is It's just
Yeah.
crazy good. And I thought for sure when I was doing it, like, oh, you're only gonna be able to do it once or twice. But if you keep timing it right, you can just keep bouncing around, hurting enemies. And I just feel like this is the
Mm-hmm.
first time in Marvel Ultimate Alliance where it feels like they really. I'm not taking shots at other developers, but it just feels like they really want to go. Let's make Mr. Fantastic awesome. Where I feel like in the past they've given him like okay some stretchy attacks, but at the most part he's like really squishy or he's just not. I've just never had fun playing with him, to be honest. It's not, and I can't put
Mm-hmm.
my hands on it. It just never kind of like what I've said about Hulk. Never felt like Mr. Fantastic, where this felt like it. So I did. I think great, and he's a guy that I've played with, not as much as the Storms, but I want to more, and I'm excited to upgrade him and everything. But yeah, again, bravo.
Yeah, same.
All I'd say for me, the first three you've talked about are all characters that I think they did a phenomenal to almost perfect job on.
I agree.
Um, yeah, for me, he is my favorite of this wave of DLC. I just think he is so much fun to use. I love his attacks, you know, whether it's, again, like the bouncing ball, his, like, that button mashing, like, punching slam thing, or his wheel move, which I really, really like, or, again, like, his AoE, like, spin, where he spins his arms around and everything. Like, I absolutely just love him, and I mean, for me, like, I hate the idea of pulling him away from his other team to use him with, like, Ghost Rider and stuff, but, like, he's just, I do, because he's so much fun, and he's, he has me super excited. Like, I really got behind Moon Knight and Blade, but I liked Moon Knight a little bit more, and I enjoyed playing with him, but just, I feel like Mr. Fantastic is just the way to go for me, and he's so like fluid, seamless, and just enjoyable to use. And I feel like when I'm playing as him, like I can handle these different scenarios of like tons of guys or whatever, and I really enjoy that. And it's I just feel like I was really able to kind of like chime in with him right away. And it's funny because even though he was like the first guy I started off with, and then I went to the other guys, he just proved to be just like, I started with him, and you know, I found myself just going back to him after I finished off the other three, and just thought like, wow, he's so much fun. I love playing as him, and his moves just really caught me by surprise. And you're right, Dylan. I would absolutely love to see, you know, Ghost Riders like riding his bike move like extended to the point where it's like ongoing, like Mr. Fantastic's wheel move is. I think that that's a missed opportunity,
Yeah.
but it's just his moves. Like, I was not expecting the wheel move. When I did that, I caught me off guard because I was like, whoa, what the heck did I just do? And like his double bounce thing, I was like, oh my god, like these are so like flamboyant but so in sync with the character and what he would be doing, in my opinion. So I really just, I love how he feels. And I'm not even like a huge fan of Mr. Fantastic. Like with the Fantastic Four movies, I was always more like Johnny Storm. I kind of liked him, and again, like I like Sue Storm. I like their powers, what they could do. And Mr. Fantastic, I was never really into like the like stretchy kind of like thing or whatever. But just in this, like I'm just totally all about it and loving it. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I was always more into Elastigirl than Mr. Fantastic back in the day.
I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the thing over there.
The big pile of rocks. They should give him a skin that's just Korg. That'd be so cool. He's I mean, I think it's tricky with the thing. It's like, what do you really do to give him like these crazy moves? You can't, like, it's almost impossible for him to match the crazy stuff that Sue Storm or Mr. Fantastic can do. But I still like him quite a bit. Like I always like having a big like beefy dude on my team, whether that's like, you know, a Venom or a Hulk or a Luke Cage. So I'm just glad to have more characters like of this archetype. And I think he's all right. There's a couple, like, my one complaint with him really is that he has this cool move where he like pulls a rock out of the ground and uses it as a shield, and you can like walk around with it. But it doesn't like reflect moves, which seems like a no-brainer to me. Like that seems like it should work just like Colossus's reflect, right? So I don't know. I feel like that would have been really cool. Plus, it would have synergized with Sue Storm's move and other stuff. So I feel like that's the only missed opportunity. But I think he's pretty cool overall. Like he has the one move where he just like he starts hammering the ground back and forth, and then like the longer you do it, the more it speeds up and the stronger it gets. And it reminds me of Donkey Kong's like down special in Smash Bros, where he just keeps slapping the ground as long as you want until you run out of mana, pretty much. So I like Hulk. I think, or not Hulk thing. I think he fits in with the team well. But yeah, I would agree that like the Hulk in this game, in terms of that big beefy archetype character, is a little bit more explosive than Thing, who feels a little on the safe side.
Yeah, I'll jump in there because he's the one I'm most disappointed with because lately the big guys in all this game have surprised me. As I've said before, I think I've said this on the cast already, and when the lead up with Hulk many times in games wasn't to me a favorite play with. I love playing with Hulk. He's always kind of in my main. If I have like a rotating 8 or 10, he's always in there. I think he's the perfect big guy. Venom I think is fine, but even Luke Cage, he's fun. I think Colossus they nailed out of the park. So for me, this game did a good job of hitting the big guys. Where this, I don't know if this was the case. It just felt like they poured so much love into the other characters that they just kind of went the basic route of this one. It just feels like he's lesser than a lot of the other guys. Like I said, it feels like he's lesser than, like you talked about the Rock thing with Colossus, but even his finish, it just kind of feels okay. We've been here, done that, and I don't know. There's nothing just too unique. He has a shoulder charge like every other big guy. Like I said, his finish is nothing that special. I just don't think he's gonna be played with much with me. If I need a big guy, which I'm kind of like Taylor, it sucks because I love, it's a funny thing just because there's such a unit. It is weird seeing like the Fantastic Four member on a different team, but it's one of those that I just don't think he's gonna fall back in kind of the upgrading. And maybe I'll play with him some more. He's definitely one I play with the least, so I want to try it again. Maybe get a feel for it. Maybe find a way. But I felt like every time I play with him, I'd be like, I'd rather have Colossus here, rather have Hulk. So yeah, I think he's fine. I don't think he's bad. I just think that he's more of the older ilk of a big guy that just has some big moves, but nothing special. Where I feel like some of the other big guys really have some special attacks or some special moves and makes you feel a bit more interactive. So yeah, I was disappointed the most with Thing in this DLC.
Yeah, for me, he's not doing it. I when it comes to these big guys, I definitely enjoy like Colossus and definitely Hulk more. Like when we first started playing, I was all about that Hulk. I loved using him, and it's the way that the Thing kind of turned around with, like, I was hoping he'd be fun and be like unique, and he is, don't get me wrong, and I like his moves too, very cool. And you know again, all these characters have very unique moves and all that stuff, but again, like, I just feel like I don't know. When I was playing with the team, I made sure to let's set him as like drawing like what do you call it? One of the ISOs I would put onto him that would basically draw the enemy's attention away.
Yeah.
So, and not because I didn't like him, it's just because I feel like he can stack up and he can take it. Yeah, so that'd be like my go-to. But I always found myself never really using him. And again, like, I tried amping him up, making him a heavy tank, and just like a bullet sponge is the term too, I guess. And he just kept dying really quick. So I don't know. I feel like he wasn't as good as like the Hulk was, in a sense that made him unique. So I don't know. Maybe I gotta give him like a little bit more playtime, a little more love. But I just thought, no, I'm wasting time on him when I could just be enjoying my time playing Mr. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Doctor Doom, he's a guy that I think we've won for a while. He was in the first game. He was the boss of the first game. You had to unlock him last. Taylor, you start. What did you think about Doctor Doom in this game?
Gosh, well, he's definitely unique. I'll give him that. Like when I played with him, I definitely put him in my team and like swapped him out for Magneto because I definitely enjoyed how he was feeling and just his overall. Like I didn't really have any like negatives on him. Like, I love how he can like summon up one of those drones as his ability. I think that's super cool, like the Doom Bot or whatever they're called. So I think he's definitely got some unique kind of things going for him. And yeah, I mean, I liked him. I thought he was kind of like annoying in the story, I'm not gonna lie, but
his voice isn't the absolute best.
Yeah, but his character though, just playing like him and his mechanics, I really enjoyed them. He's probably I'd swap him out with Sue Storm if I had to. Like, he's definitely above Thing, but he's not below Sue Storm. He's like on point with her, but I still like Johnny Storm and Mr. Fantastic more.
Yeah, I'll agree with the voice there. The voice was pretty just like, let's just get any voice actor to do like, oh, I am Doom. Like, it felt like almost the first game had a better voice, or nothing had really changed. But yeah, Dylan, what were your thoughts on Victor Von Doom?
I think like I said at the top, like he's just a very strange character. Like, his moves do have some synergy, but like they take a little bit more thought behind them. Like, it's cool that he's kind of got a lot of mid-range moves as well, not quite as mid-range as Mr. Fantastic, a little bit less, but it's cool because it works well with his like multiple teleportation. Like he has one move, like one attack that teleports him, and then also his roll. Instead of actually being a roll, he just like does a short little teleport. So I think that's really cool. And then yeah, I love that he can spawn the Doombot, but it's interesting because the best way to use that is you put the Doombot somewhere, and then you can synergize with it with your like continuous energy attack move. But it's tricky because that Doombot will get KO'd. It'll get knocked out by enemies or bosses or something. So you have to really like it actually really matters a lot where you put it down and then where you stand when you attack at it. So it's cool. I like that there's like a little bit of a skill cap on using that correctly because that's self synergy moves are few and far between in this game and they're really really strong. Like Wasp has a really strong one where she shoots up the tornado and then can shoot bullets into it, and it's just so strong. So other characters that have moves like that are if you can use them correctly, they're really really powerful, and it's cool that Doom is in that position. But yeah, I think they did a good job of making him feel like very strong just with the teleports alone. Like he just has a lot of maneuverability even though he's a little bit slower in terms of walking around. So yeah, I like him. I definitely used him. I used him like with a villain team, which was a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm a big fan. But Travis, as a big fan of Doctor Doom, where's he land on your list?
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning, I'm warming up to him because when I first played with him, I was honestly pretty disappointed. I messaged you guys right away, just like I'm just not feeling it because the way to me Doom, and it's a much older game, but the way he played in the first game is the same way that Thanos, when you unlock him, feels like in this game, where he's just a powerhouse. He is a bit slower, but he has these moves where it just takes you out. And I think Dylan's right that he is a strong character, but in a different sense. Like I said, the old game, it just felt like he was unstoppable. He's one of my favorites. You could just summon down like lightning strikes on people and stuff like that. So he kind of felt a little OP. Where this does feel a bit more taken back, and to me, he doesn't even feel as strong as like a Loki or maybe even a Magneto. But again, I gotta play with him more because I was played with him and then I was a little disappointed. So I went back to a lot of the other characters, but then I started playing with him a bit more. And okay, I'm playing with like the robot, the Doombot, and I like those synergies. Like you said, that's something unique. So that was fun. I like his look, and I'll applaud them for putting him in the game too because he is a fan favorite. So he's somebody that I don't know. I feel like when we do tier rings, whenever we do, I feel like either I'm gonna warm up to him and quite like him, kind of like even though I liked Hawkeye right off the bat, but when Hawkeye, once you play with him a bit more, you get a rhythm. You go, okay, I really like him. Or it's gonna be one of those like I'll put Doom every once in a while, or like Dylan said, to maybe have that fun villains lineup or something like that. But to me, I'm on the side of liking him, but I'm kind of in the middle of like where he's gonna rank later on. Like I said too, it's similar to Cable. Or Cable, I don't play with tons, but when I do like him. And even Punisher to an extent, where Punisher I was quite disappointed with. I still want him to be better, but the more I've played with him, I do like putting him on a team, playing with him every once in a while. So I'm kind of thinking he might throw in that slot where he's not always going to be my rotating 10, but every once in a while I'll get the itch to be like, let's put him in there. But the one last point I'll mention is I feel like he's a character that could change a lot after I upgrade him, put a bunch of ISOs on him, really get his powers up. So that's where I'm also waiting too to like play with them, get some cubes. So as I'm going to reveal later, I still got to play the superior mode in the story. So a lot of those not superior, ultimate coming up. So obviously you want to play with your top characters, but usually when I'm doing that, I usually like heavy load 3, and then I usually put like a lower tier 4th person to like one because I want to play with someone different, but also just to boost them up. So he's a guy that I think I'm going to be boosting up a lot just to see. And I think once I boost him up, and even if I don't end up playing with him, I'm going to boost him up because I love Doctor Doom. So initially, I like him. A tad disappointed, but it's one of those kind of get back to me in a month. But I will say he's unique, so that's a good thing going for him. It's better than just being. I'd rather take his uniqueness and me maybe not loving the play style to I'm not a fan of it at all. So
yeah, the last thing I'll say on these characters is, at least for like Invisible Woman and the Thing, they don't really have many like team bonuses. Like I have my Switch on my counter right now. I'm looking at them right now. So Invisible Woman has the Fantastic Four bonus, obviously. Then she has Family Values. So if you're using her with, I guess, Human Torch or Mr. Fantastic, I guess you get a bonus there. And then her only other one is Women of Marvel, which is a cool one. But the thing is, there's so many like in that team that they don't really get a big bonus for it, right? That's kind of how it works. So that's kind of all she has, and that's kind of a bit of a bummer because the fun thing with these characters is, yes, using them as the Fantastic Four for a few levels, but then it's fun to make like interesting and unique team combos, and I don't feel like there's a ton of room there. It looks like Human Torch has a bunch, so that he probably has room for some more fun teams like Wisecrackers, Forces of Nature, things like that. But yeah, the Thing's kind of in the same boat, where he doesn't have a ton either. So like that's kind of a little bit disappointing as well.
Has anyone done like a massive like big guys team? I've never done it, but have you done a team like Hulk, Colossus, Thing, and like Venom? I know it'd be pretty heavy,
Yeah.
front loaded, but
I think I did it before. I haven't done it with this update yet, so I haven't done it with Thing on the lineup. But I definitely should. I feel like that'd be really fun. They'd be so tanky.
Um,
Yeah.
for story wise, I don't think there's anything too specific I want to hit on other than the end. I feel like it's kind of like the most of the game we've talked about, where the story, you're not playing this for a grand story, right? You're playing this, it's a pretty, Doom's taking over stuff. He has Doom bots. He becomes Emperor Doom, Emperor Doom, which is not a spoiler because they've been revealing that. So I'm not sure, is there anything you wanted to touch upon before kind of the ending? And then, because I was going to give the spoilers warning for like the ending, and then also we could start talking about the secret character as well. But anything
Yeah.
main story stick out?
I have a couple things. One, so there's like I said, there's two new zones you go to. One is the the negative zone, and then after that you go to Latveria. I really liked the negative zone. It's not really that interesting of like a landscape. I guess it's kind of like the dark dimension. But what I like about it is that there's some new enemy types there. So it's like the bug type enemies. So you have like these big mantis type things, and then there's a variant that flies and has a projectile, and then you get like this giant version. So I really liked them just because they're super out there and really weird. Like most of the enemies in the main game are humanoid types, whether it's like prisoners or like, Tony Stark's robots, like just a lot of humanoid characters. So I think it's cool to just have like a really weird type, and it works well with like the gauntlets and stuff, right? Just even more variety in terms of the battles that you got to do. So I really like that about Negative Zone. And then Latveria is probably one of my favorite levels overall in the whole game, just because of one, the setting. Like I just love going through this little hobbit town almost, and then building up to like this big castle. And it's a really long level. It has different sequences and different types of battles and boss fights and stuff. So it feels like kind of on par with some of the best levels in the main game, which I would say is probably like Asgard's really good, or Wakanda, something like that. So I think they did a great job with the new chapter, and it's pretty long as well. Like I want to say the first time I played it, it took me like a couple hours because I was looking in every corner and taking my time. So it's definitely a pretty chunky level and not just some small level like I can't even remember the name of the Inhumans level, but whatever that one is, like it's over in a snap. So I'm glad that they put just a lot of time into making this a pretty big level.
Yeah, I'll just support you on that one too. Is I love Latveria in general, but they I think did a good job of. I liked the layout of it. I liked the look. I liked the feel, and it's a nice throwback too because you go in there in the first game, and yeah, the second week, the second I saw that, or they were kind of hinting at it, like, oh man, if we go there, I'm gonna be so excited, and I was, and I loved everything about it. So yeah, I was quite happy with that, Taylor.
Yeah, for me, I thought that the settings were just a nice change of pace, and I definitely agree with you, Dylan, when you're going to like the that God, what was it called again? The upside
the
down
negative zone,
negative zone.
not the upside
Yeah,
down.
the negative zone. It was just a cool overall just a change because I thought like at first I was afraid that we're gonna get like the dark dimension kind of vibe going on, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like it was its own fresh new aesthetic and like location, which I'm really happy. And then when we got to Latveria, I was super super excited. It just I like what you said too, like going through like these like the town and everything like that and the castle and stuff. It just felt really really awesome and unique and a lot of detail. I was destroying all the benches on my way up because there's like 1,000 gold coins each. So it was just it was really really cool. I was looking for like the again too this isn't really much of a spoiler, but just like the concept art pieces or like those like extra things you can find like going around, like I was happy to see those again, like hidden in little places and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, just the locations were really really nice. And like it's not really again another spoiler, but I mean like starting off in like a familiar setting in the game where we've been to before, and then immediately just jumping into like new areas. Like I really like that because it was a good bridge from the past story that ended in the main campaign into this new journey, and just how it connected things together. Like I like that a lot.
I agree. I think that was a good way to do it, because if you just had like a cutscene out of nowhere and then boom, you're in the negative zone, I think that would have been a bit much. So I think it's cool that you go through a familiar area and then do, but it's like it's familiar, but it's also different because you have the new enemy types there and then a different boss. So it's not just repeating the same content as much as it's the same area. So I agree with that point.
All right, so this is what I want to talk about. So yeah, now we're going to get into some of the ending spoilers of the game, and then also after that we're going to talk about the secret character. So if you don't want to know if you're trying to play to unlock that character and you want to wait around or you don't want to, then you can come back at another time. We'll probably talk about the tier rankings as well, so you'll get to hear our thoughts in the future. But so the story I want to talk about, it was strange. So we had this where we played through the game, a few months ago, got through Thane after many hours of sleeping at the Custer Dome Dylan's place. So we beat Thane, and they kind of do this teasing that something's kind of coming. And I remember when they announced the story mode, Dylan, you kind of brought up in our group chat, like, oh, that's probably what they're talking about is like for this Doom, it's kind of this could be the parallel to that. And I feel like it kind of was, but then they still make it seem like something else bigger is coming, and they do the whole and I guess they do this in video games all the time when you unlock someone like I need to join you for the fight, but you could have just done that with Doom and you'd be fine. But then they did that, and then they really emphasized like what's next. And I was wondering two things. One, because after the credits we didn't get another post-credit scene, so I thought, are they going to tease something here for maybe like we were talking about a Smash, like another story DLC, or is this teasing the potential of a new game? What did you guys think about this? Because I was thrown off guard because I thought with us getting a story as same as Dylan, like this was going to close off whatever the something's coming, and to end off this supposedly final DLC with still something's coming. Caught me off guard.
Yeah, man, I don't know how to feel about it because, yeah, it almost feels like the post-credit scene of the main game isn't Doom and what we're seeing here. Like it does seem like it's concurrent with what Doom's talking about at the end of this. But I mean, I feel like the ending of the story is a bit weird to me, just because like Doom switching and then being on your side just felt like very forced and weird. Like story-wise, I know it's hard to like critique this game too much just because there's so many characters that there's no way you can give everyone like a logical story, but that felt a little bit weird to me. And yeah, I don't know, like it's hard to say whether this game's going to get more DLC or if this is just saying, hey, maybe we'll do a fourth game and then, here's where we're going to start off. But even if that was the case, it seemed like it was like pretty committal. Like why have Doom join you at the end? Like why not just say he's going in prison? Maybe he'll help us someday.
Taylor, what do you think?
Travis, were you going to say something?
Oh no, I just the same thing. Yeah, I didn't even think you needed to do that with the story, right? Just to even be like, I get Thanos joined you to fight Thane at the end, but I just feel like if this was the end of the game, end of DLC, I think most people would just be like, oh, I'm just happy I can play as Doom. I didn't need a story reason for Doom to be on the roster. Like I appreciate it, but that feels like a very 2000s thing to do. But then when they followed up with, yes, something's coming, which I think the obvious is if there's a new game or DLC would be Galactus. The only thing is like, I think we've talked about this, that the game's like it seems like it's selling well, nothing like earth shattering, but I'm hoping it's sold enough to get them not just in the green, but like good enough in the green that would justify another one. I still think there's potential in the future, like years from now, to get it on like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X. So I don't think its time is done. I am just wondering that it just felt like such a direct tease, and it's not a big enough franchise where it's like a Last of Us or a like a GTA or something like that, where or even like the Batman or Spider-Man games. Spider-Man to me, even though that was the first game, you kind of knew it was going to sell no matter what. Same thing with the Arkham's games would have teases, and it's like, okay, this feels obvious because they're critically acclaimed and they're big franchises, so I could see them already being like, oh, and we'll do this in the sequel. With this game, I think a sequel is not guaranteed nor promised, so I'm not going to die on the hill, but to me, it pushed me to be like, is there going to be another like story DLC? And to me, if that's the story DLC, you would get, I think, Galactus, and you could obviously add a Silver Surfer and maybe some other people. We've joked about Howard the Duck, but there's tons of other space people. Nova you could add. Like there's tons of characters still left. And to me, why I think it could be a DLC is so they do that. I gotta join you for the fight. Something's coming, and then the last image is showing everybody. And to me, I know we're in a different age of gaming of add-ons, and what is the term like the games by service, right? Yeah. I don't know if they want to treat that like this, but to me, when I see all those characters, of course I do want a fourth one because that means you can change things, you can do different levels, another story, you can bring in different characters. But if they could find a way to support this and even if they did another like batch of 3 or even 2, and if they had only one story thing like the Doom thing, I would be fine with it because I just look at that image and I go, if there is something coming next, I want all those characters. And I can't expect them to put all those characters in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 4 and then more on top of that, unless they're just going to pull Smash Ultimate and they're just going to be like, yeah, we're going to make this the fourth one the badass one. But
Yeah.
I just don't know. I'd like to hear like sales and success because if this game was like, if this game came out and it was just like blowing off the windows, I'd be like, okay, this makes sense. They added that in there. They could say, oh, we're making a fourth one. But I think it's doing well, but it's not blowing down doors. So
Yeah, I know it's sold over 1 million copies, like the base game, so that's really good, especially because it came out a week after Fire Emblem and like just a few weeks before Astral Chain. So some other big Nintendo exclusives that also sold over 1 million. So it was pretty impressive, I'd say, for the numbers it got, considering like I guess they did a lot of marketing at E3, which is like a month before the game came out. But you got to think about like the DLC, which was $20 for the whole thing. So all 3 packs were $20, like all included. And that, how long did that take to come out? It was about 3 months for each one. So yeah, so I guess like around 9 months for that like $20 add-on. So I don't know, like I think this game is definitely profitable, but I'm curious how profitable the DLC itself was. And yeah, you brought up a good point. Like if this is talking about a fourth game, unless Team Ninja's making the game again, like I feel like that would I feel like the odds that I don't know that you'd bring everyone back is kind of unlikely. So I don't know. I guess it like if it is Team Ninja making it again, they might just like kind of port these characters and update a few of them, that sort of thing, kind of like Smash 4 to Smash Ultimate, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of want them to just work on a fourth one at this point instead of more DLC, I think, but I don't know. I'll take whatever I can get if it's Ultimate Alliance. So
yeah,
that's my stance.
Taylor, what were your thoughts on the end there? The tease.
Yeah, for me, I feel like it's just gonna be more DLC in that sense because I feel like they could definitely just throw us a new game and it could be picking up right after the events of this one, and that's great and fine and dandy. But at the same time, I feel like are you gonna have this entire roster ready to go at the beginning, or are you gonna just kind of like sham us a little bit where it's leading up to everyone being ready to fight, we have the whole roster ready to go, and then it's gonna like pull everyone apart that we spent unlocking in the last game and have to go through this whole new storyline unlocking the characters again, which is fine. I'll take it, but I mean, we just did that in this one. I feel like it'd be too repetitive to kind of go through that again, and I don't see them just having everyone good to go and then a whole new list of characters that you unlock, because again, that would be the same thing, unlocking new characters and stuff, but again, it'd be different places and stuff, which is cool, so I could let that slide. But I do feel like they're just leading it up for more DLC, particularly because of the Doom factor, in the sense where, I definitely didn't. I thought we were going to get the Green Goblin treatment for a second there, and I was super choked. But I'm glad that, he's part of the team. That's awesome. And at the same time, it just felt like, okay, they're all like rallying up here. Like, this for sure feels like we're going to get one more bit of DLC. It's going to be pretty large. And yeah, because it just felt like they're building towards something, and I don't know how long they can like drag it out for, because I don't want them to drag any of this out, especially if they put out another game. I just feel like, what else can you do story wise? But maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like if they were to do another game, or if like Nintendo, I should say, is to do another one of these games, I'd almost want it to be a different team making it. Not that I love this game a lot, but I would just love to see another developer's like take on it, like what they would do with it, how they would have the RPG elements, like what characters they would pick, what story they'd want to go for. I would just hope that it's something different, like instead of the Infinity Stone storyline, since we've seen that. But in terms of this being like very cliffhangery and that leading to DLC, like I don't know, isn't that kind of just the genre at the same time? Like, other than Logan, pretty much every comic book movie that we're seeing these days is like heavily leaving the door open, or straight up cliffhanger. Like, think about a post-credit scene in the MCU leading. It's like, here's what you're gonna see next. Like, these things are never really over. Even Endgame, which is a huge potential endpoint, there's an epilogue that came out like 2 months later. So I almost feel like that's just the genre at the same time, where they don't really end things in a big way. And I feel like, I don't read the comics, but I imagine that's a lot of the same thing, right? Where it's like leading into the next issue, so you go get that one as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It could just be one of those kind of comic booky video game things as well. The only reason I pause on it is just because they did it twice with the main game and then they brought it back in the DLC. To me, if it was just that main game, it would have been okay, they're just teasing DLC. But the fact that they brought it back on the last one, to me, is peculiar. And for as far as like dragging it out, I'm kind of fine with that as long as if it was, because I don't know if a fourth game is guaranteed. If it is, that'd be good. I'm kind of down with what Dylan said to get a new person in there, but I am down to stick around. It's kind of like with Smash, the way it's like the relatively same team kind of working on it. And it's kind of like, how can we get bigger and better? So I wouldn't mind. Like, if I had a gun to my head, I would still pick the same developers just because they impressed me so much with this game. Wouldn't want to risk like getting a fourth and losing a lot of things I like. So if like I said, gun to my head, I'd want the same team to do a fourth. But if the fourth isn't an option, and if we like got it, let's say there was another year DLC, I'd be completely fine with that. Because like, yeah, the story might be a little drawn out, but I don't really care. I would just like, I think there's so many characters you could do, and same thing like Taylor talking about Green Goblin. You could do like another Spider-Man DLC and put those characters now playable, right? You can be, oh, you got to go back to New York and it's being taken over, or a Sinister Six DLC. Like, that's the thing with Marvel and DC games, and that's why I hope DC, I want them one day to have a game like this. It's like, there's so much potential. There's like, same thing, like they bust out Annihilus in this DLC, a very like one-time popular Avengers character or villain who is kind of in the back burner now. So I feel like there's so many things that even with Guardians of the Galaxy they didn't really touch. So that's why I think this is, with Marvel and DC, you might not want to draw it out, but those are kind of the two perfect things to draw out because there's just thousands and thousands of characters and stories you can keep building upon. You know, like we didn't even get Ant-Man. You know, stuff like that. Like or Vision. You know, like there's still so many people, or the Inhumans. Like there's so much. If they were to say, hey, we're not going to give you a fourth one because it sold good but not amazing, but your DLC attach rate is great. How would you keep pumping that out? And I'd be down. I'd be down if it became like what's that game you really like, Taylor? What was the Ubisoft game? It had a rough start. John Berthnall's in that new one.
Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah, like obviously, like if it was something like that where it's just, you know, I don't think we'd ever get that level. But if it was 2-3 years and they're just like, yeah, we're just making new characters and new packs, I'd be completely fine with that. Every year to spend $20-$25 to get a new like set of 4-3, I'd be happy with that if I never got a fourth one. I guess want any content. So if I can't get a game, that's what I'd want.
Yeah, I think you guys make good points. I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'd be there day one playing all these DLCs as well. I think I would just want I would want to guarantee that every DLC would have a chapter, because to me, like, that's why I love this DLC so much and why it's by far the best out of the 3 DLC packs. Is just, man, having a new chapter which introduces new enemies, new bosses, and that much more to remix when you whip out some new gauntlets and some rifts. Like, to me, that's just so huge. Like, and I don't even need big CG cutscenes, honestly. Like, I love that stuff, but even just a new chapter, some new levels, that's the kind of stuff I'm really into. So that's the only thing I would hope if they do another DLC pack, is give me more chapters and give me at least one chapter, even if it's a smaller one with each pack, just to give us more to remix.
Yeah, fair enough. So now let's talk about that secret character. So this is something that I'm not going to say I knew, but the second, because we pretty much knew Doom was in there, but when they put out that press release, they said the Fantastic Four and they said and more. They did leave Doom off that list, but I just had a feeling that there was a bit more, because I felt like they had made it so obvious that Doom was playable that it had to be someone else. So obviously there's a secret character. You have to beat all the difficulties, which I found out in the main game we're thinking, and then difficulties in the...
new chapter.
In this new chapter, yeah. So, like I said, this is your last chance. We're going to get into it. Dylan, we'll start with you, because for me, the character is Thanos Infinite. For me, I never actually completed Ultimate on the main campaign because DLC came out, the Gauntlets, and I was saying to Dylan and Taylor, like, I'd kind of done everything as far as I know there's things you can unlock, costume stuff, but the main stuff I want was like, oh, I want Hulk's, like, Planet Hulk costume. I want these gauntlets, stuff like that. So I never went back and finished that, so I'm going to do that. So I have not played the character. I have watched some stuff. He looks great. I love some of his big attacks, but these two can actually talk about how Thanos is. And also, just how do you feel about that being the secret character? Because I'll talk about that after.
Yeah. So, I mean, so if you guys remember back to our earlier casts on this, like, when I was like super in this game, when like even before it was coming out, and I was like in the Discord talking with other people who were super excited about it and like kind of theory crafting and all this. And so in there, like, people have data mining the game, and that's why I had a pretty strong feeling that there was going to be Latveria, and maybe like I just had a really strong feeling there was going to be a new chapter, because people had seen like the game files, and these game files were getting added with the updates and stuff like that. So that's why I was like extra surprised by this, because obviously some of this stuff has not really been spoiled, but we've known like some hints. Like there was even hints that Annihilus was in here. People didn't know for sure. So yeah, like the Infinite Thanos was, I think, as far as I know, a surprise to everyone, and that's why I was so shocked by it, because we kind of had like inklings of a bunch of other stuff. But I think it's really cool. It's weird to me. It's so if you haven't played the game, haven't played him yet, essentially Thanos, he looks a bit different. Well, not really actually, because you can use like you use the same costumes that the regular Thanos uses, but he just has a different moveset. And it's more of his boss moveset, like his final boss moveset that he uses in the main game. So things like calling in meteors from the sky, or those giant red spikes, really, really powerful stuff, teleports, whatnot. So he's just like super duper strong. When you unlock him, he starts at level 230, which is fucking crazy. And yeah, he's just very OP. And I don't know, I guess the reason I feel a little weird about it is I don't really see a reason to go back to regular Thanos at this point. Like,
100%
he does have
agree.
his own unique moves, but I just don't know if he doesn't have the star factor anymore. And I liked him already, like base Thanos. I don't think he was as explosive because he wasn't using the stones, but I still thought he was fun. But yeah, this guy is just, you can't equip any ISOs on him because he has the stones equipped to him, which is cool. But yeah, he's full power, man. He's very scary how big his moves are and how fast he is for being Thanos.
Taylor?
So for me, I think, you know, it's a cool surprise. I'll definitely throw that out there. But I was definitely, I mean, I know when you were throwing ideas around and stuff in the chat, and you're like, "Oh, Dylan, like, don't tell me," and I saw like Silver Surfer pop in the conversation. I was like, "Oh, that would be so cool." They just threw him in there, and then when I found out, I was like, "Oh, you know, it's just another Thanos. Well, that's cool." And you know, seeing it like it is cool. But it's, to me, I would have preferred like a new character. I feel like how, you know, he's definitely powerful. He's got all these moves and all that. But I feel like, you know, in this sense, the fact that you can remove moves off of characters, I feel like, you know, this just kind of, this shafts your old Thanos. And even the time, like, I use Thanos, like the original one, in my team a lot, and I feel like it kind of shafts like all the time you spent on that Thanos when they just threw in this new one. So I feel like what they should have done was they should have basically allowed you an upgrade to this Thanos, you know, boost his level up a little bit or something like that, and then give him the option to like interchange his moves a little bit, like you can do with characters. I really wish that they have that ability where you can buy new moves in like the store, and you can like apply them to the character and then level those up, because I have so many points that are just sitting on my profile that just aren't being used to level up, you know, like the orbs or whatever. So I just wish that I wish that it was something that they could change, that I could like add in new moves, and I wish that was something that they did with Thanos in this update, was, you know, don't turn old Thanos into just dead content, but just give him like an extra couple like skins, and then if you like give him the option, like you can equip the glove or you cannot equip the glove depending on which skin you pick, and then you can like change up the moves, you know, take some out and then put in like a teleporting one in or stuff like that. I feel like that would have been the way to handle it, because now it's just, you know, like I said, he's just, old Thanos is just dead in the water, you know. And I mean, even heck, they should have, if they wanted to change it up, throw Thane in there with the glove. That would have even been like a cool little change up. I just don't get why they threw in another Thanos, but that's just me. So I mean, do I enjoy it? Yeah, I'm definitely not gonna like complain or like write a letter to them and be like, you know, fuck you guys, what are you doing? But yeah,
I think that's a great suggestion. Like, it'd be so cool if they just gave him those 4 new abilities, or and like that way you could switch them out and mix and match with his old moveset, or like, yeah, just straight up you can choose to put on the gauntlet and then you can't put any ISOs on, and you're getting these way more powerful moves, but it's like a trade-off. So yeah, I think you made a great suggestion there. And honestly, as much as I've been hating on Thane because of oh man, he's a real challenge to get past him. So I've definitely had some hate for the character, but I think that would have been much cooler, because that actually is the final boss. So to finally have him unlocked would have been cool, and then having Thane and Thanos on one team would just be sweet. Plus they'd have like the family values bonus as well, so you could get another like team bonus in there. Whereas I haven't tried yet, but I'm guessing you can use both Thanos at the same time. Like, why not, right? So yeah, I don't know. I think Taylor made a perfect suggestion of what they should have done, and I don't know, just when you see that extra slot in the top corner, and I didn't know what it was at first, I was getting a little hyped for yeah, like pretty much Silver Surfer was where I was getting hyped on as well, just because he's a weird and unique character. So a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, no, I don't have much to add. I think Taylor kind of hit it out of the park where there's pros and cons to it. I like it. I like the move set, but then, like Taylor said, I don't think I'll really play with that other Thanos ever again. And I do feel like a little, obviously not wasted because he did help me through some gauntlets, especially at the early on when he was just so powerful. But yeah, no, I like it. I just wish that. I don't know. Maybe I just wish that I guess you have to earn them, but I don't know. It did get me really hyped because I did think, oh, it could be something. Especially they're teasing something coming in the sky, so that's what I thought was Silver Surfer. So I like it, but I wish maybe there's another way to do it. Like I said, maybe the way I'm thinking is you just boot up the game. It was like, oh, and you also unlock this, and it was Thanos right there. Like, oh, that's really cool. But the fact that it was like you got to go unlock it, and it's like, okay, especially for me, like I found out about it later on because I found out that I'm gonna have to do a bit more work to go get him. So I'm like, okay, is this worth my time to go and put all these hours in this character, or should I do some other things? And I want to do it just because I've looked into his moveset, and I think he is really cool. I love that he like has those two massive big like red spikes that come up just like the boss battle, and there's like that speed power, just nuts. So he does look a lot of fun. So it did actually make me want to go get it, but yeah, I was happy and disappointed at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
Anything else on this DLC? I've said everything I need to.
There's a couple things I want to say. Like I mentioned at the top that they added a bunch of costumes. To me, the highlights there are the new Guardians of the Guardians of the Galaxy costumes, particularly Gamora and Drax. I just love their new looks, and that's kind of those four characters are kind of my least leveled right now. They're somewhere in the 70s or 80s, and part of the reason was I was just gonna kind of wait for their costumes to come out and then play with them a bunch. So actually, when I started this new DLC, going into it, I got all their costumes and using that until I got the Fantastic Four. So I love their new costumes. And then the other two that I think are great are Black Widows and Hawkeyes. Hawkeyes in particular, even the base costume and the recolor both look amazing. Just the look of it alone made him join my A team, which I've been using to get all these big unlocks. So yeah, I love the Hawkeye costume. I was hoping for the OG one, but I'm actually super glad with the one they went for because it's just amazing. Actually, I had one question for you guys. So they upped the level cap as well to 300 from 200, so a big jump, which to me just seems like kind of unnecessary. Like I get it, it's for the hardcores, but even me, like I've put over 200 hours in the game, and that's just ridiculous. Like an even 100, another jump of 100 levels. Like I don't know, I'll probably get there eventually, but it just seems a little savage because now my highest level is still Blade at like 260 or something. He's like super far away from my lowest, who's probably like Venom or something at 80 or 70 or 80 or something. So I don't know. I wish they kind of found another way around that of having difficulty other than just jacking the level requirement up even higher.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I guess I don't. The only reason I don't mind is just because I feel like the first two Marvel Ultimate Alliances, I've played them within like every period of my life. So I feel like this is a game I'm gonna play within every period of my life. So that's why I kind of like, oh, I'll get there one day, or it's gonna be good when
Yeah.
like Gwen and Logan are old enough to plug in and play with them. I'll be like, oh, I can upgrade them then. So I think you're 100% right, but that's why I guess it didn't bug me because I know I'll be playing this game quite a bit throughout my life, and I got mini goals. So when I'm 60, maybe one day I can look at all my characters that are all 300. I'll be working on Black Widow, who's still level 6 in my game. I'll be working on her
crazy.
one day. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that's cool with it is that at level 250 you get an additional ISO 8 slot unlocked. So that's pretty cool that there's at least an incentive to get to 250 at least. So that's pretty cool.
No, I think that it's just absolutely bonkers that it's that high. I mean, if there's anyone out there in the world that has got all of their characters up to level 300,
I think someone does.
kudos
Someone
to
does
you.
already.
Oh wow! Well, it doesn't surprise me, but I'm surprised at the same time. So,
Well,
kudos to you. That's
thing
just absolutely bonkers.
The thing that's weird about it is, like for example, to level up from level 10 to 11 is much less experience than to level up from like 50 to 51, right? And the weird thing is that like 1 to 150 is a ton more XP required than it is to get from 150 to 200. And I'm pretty sure from my limited experience with like the over level 200 characters that the XP requirement, like so far for me to get Blade to 260 did not take that long to get him there from 200. So I feel like it's a lot less actual XP is required than you might think. but it still is like quite a grind when you have over 50 characters in the game now if you want to get them all up there. So
Yeah, well, I think that it's just, God, that's so many XP cubes. Like, I don't even think I can buy that many.
no, you definitely can.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, unless we get an announcement in the next little bit or a few months, this will be the final review of the DLC. So like I said, I think in a month or two we'll probably do a tier ranking once we have a bit more time to play with these characters, and we'll do like kind of a final send-off to the game, and then that might be it for the coverage of this game. Like I said, me personally, I haven't got my fingers crossed that we get some more, but yeah, it might be it, and it was a good little journey. So maybe they'll drop some on the 1-year anniversary. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could see, like, if I feel like if there's going to be any announcement for it, it'll be at obviously E3's not happening, but I imagine Nintendo's going to do a direct around when E3 would have been. So I think if it is going to be anywhere, it's going to be there. So keep your eyes out.
I agree. Taylor, where can they find us?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us in the search bar, Geekverse Space Podcast. We're everywhere on Google, but particularly geekverse.ca, and our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Geekverse Cast, Geekverse Podcast. Check out our Facebook because we got the Clone Wars poll that is going into round 2 now, ladies and gentlemen, so it's super exciting.
Yeah, so like Taylor said, website, you can find us there. Social media, you can find us there. All the descriptions down below for the video and audio feeds. Head over to Patreon, and at the $1 tier, you can get the show and every other show we do ad-free. You can get exclusive early content. Next week, hopefully it was uploading today. I'm going to be putting the Catwoman retro up there. We got lots of shows still coming out. Patreon right now, you can suggest content we can cover because obviously with COVID, we're still remote casting, and we got little content here and there. So if you want to give us a movie, jump on there now and enjoy the content, enjoy the commentary tracks, and you can get a movie on here. So thank you very much for tuning into this review. Next time you hear from us, it'll not be boring.
Later.